All right, how's everyone doing? It's Paul with Bullfrog Nutrition, and we are here with Dr. Scott Stevenson today. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day, Dr. Stevenson. Thank you.
No problem, man. And Scott's cool. Yeah, just call me Scott.
Okay, we're here with Scott.
No need formalities.
And you guys probably want to get your dictionaries out. You probably want to open up your Google browsers because, you know, Scott has agreed to talk to us in his layman terms for us to be able to understand, you know, what he's speaking about. But this is really a treat. For those of you that don't know who, you know, Scott is, a couple weeks ago, actually a week and a half ago or so, at the Arnold Classic, Yabby and I attended a seminar that was put on by Scott and John Meadows, who, you know, if you guys follow us, you guys have met John in person or follow him. But John actually referenced Scott as the most intelligent person in the whole fitness industry, which I think really speaks volumes. So, without any further ado, yeah, you pay him for that.
Monthly, yeah.
So here is Dr. Stevenson, and what we're going to talk about today is a little bit of intra-workout knowledge and then post-workout recovery knowledge. And I really just kind of want Dr. Stevenson to be the one to talk to you guys about this, because there's a lot of products out there for, you know, intra-workout. There's a lot of knowledge out there that's floating around that tells you different things to do as far as, you know, foods or supplements, intra-workout versus foods or supplements post-workout. And I want Dr. Stevenson to just tell you guys his thoughts on, you know, what he likes to do, what he likes his athletes to do with intra-workout supplementation and then post-workout recovery supplementation.
Okay, so this is a huge topic. For what it's worth, actually, I wrote for Elite FTS for 2 or 3 years, and I've got a 3-part, I think it was the first thing I wrote for them was a 3-part article on what I generally call peri-workout recovery supplementation. So it's an intra-workout, it's kind of the lay term, but peri-workout means around the workout. So literally starting beforehand and then throughout, and then because the fact there's some digestive lag, whatever you taken in during your workout is going to be absorbed for hours thereafter. Nice thing that John always points out is that you can take in that drink and then you don't have to rush home and try to get in food through in your window, so to speak. So the idea is that we can sort of hack the system, so to speak, by providing the nutrients for recovery during your workout. So from a very basic standpoint, imagine someone who's going to train chest, shoulders, and triceps in the course of a workout, and they want to try to get in a post-workout meal. They train chest for the first half an hour, 40 minutes, then they train deltoids for the next 30, 40 minutes, and then triceps. Maybe they do some abs, maybe even calves, something like that. So now they've got an hour's time while they're still training before they introduce any nutrients to help with recovery for the chest workout they did. Now, no one would sit there and wait intentionally an hour to have the post-workout, but that's essentially what you're doing if you're not taking in an intra-workout. So that's just kind of a big kind of common sense way to look at this. The other thing is we know that specifically carbohydrates and essential amino acids particularly, but protein are important for recovery in various ways. And a big kind of a caveat to this is that if someone's taking in a really substantial meal, like an hour before they train, and they're not training too long, and they can stomach that, so sometimes this doesn't work for everyone, this is the advantage of the peri-workout recovery supplementation. As long as those nutrients are there, and you've created the hormonal milieu by increasing insulin levels, increasing glucose levels in the blood, increase essential amino acid levels in the blood, you can do with food or a peri-workout. But the peri-workout is a lot more, it's sort of a habit, which is good. It's convenient, of course, and easily digestible. So you can take in things like highly branched cyclic dextrins, and you guys saw carbol in there. There's John's products, Granite supplements that have the cyclodextrins in them as well, and pre-digested protein, which is basically essential amino acids. It's nice to have the non-essentials in there too. Hopefully those are there from a previous meal you've taken. Otherwise you could just use like a whey isolate or a hydrolyzed whey as well. So when you take in, let's just imagine sort of a hypothetical basic hydrolyzed protein source or some essential amino acids, maybe with a little whey isolate, and an easily digestible carbohydrate source. Each of those will increase insulin levels. And when you add protein to carbs, you get an even higher insulin release. So insulin is important for inhibiting protein breakdown, and because you're training, you're also going to increase blood flow that delivers that insulin, delivers the essential amino acids, and delivers the carbohydrate during your workout. So set by set, without those things in place, you've got reduced muscle glycogen levels that are just going to wane after each time you do a set. You'll use those up. There'll be some recovery between sets, but otherwise they'll drop down. You can actually replenish the glycogen and maintain full glycogen stores, which is important for turning on protein synthesis and recovery, by having that carbohydrate and the insulin there drive the glucose in and glycogen formation during your rest periods. So you finish training chest, and now instead of having a glycogen depleted cells in your pecs and your chest muscles, you've got them somewhat closer to where they started, and you've got a jump start on replenishing that glycogen when you're training shoulders and triceps, and then after your workout, where you can take in a post-workout meal. And then there's the essential amino acids. Those turn on protein synthesis and inhibit protein breakdown. The essentials are the most important part. Like I said, if you have some you want to have some non-essentials too. If those are lacking, let's say the only thing you ever ate, this is sort of taking a step aside, but if you only ate essential amino acids and you never had any non-essentials, well, your body you can scavenge those from skeletal muscle that you have. Those are freely available, or it can be made from other essential other amino acids. But that's not the purpose. You want to accrue protein. You want to increase your protein stores, particularly the skeletal muscle. So you want to have those available as well. And there's some research that basically looked into that. Is if you just give essential amino acids, you can turn on protein synthesis temporarily, but it'll come to a grinding halt, because then you have a limiting factor of those non-essentials. So that's not a good way to just essential amino acids or just branched-chain amino acids. Now you're lacking some of the essentials. Not the best way to turn on protein synthesis and drive protein accrual in a positive protein balance since you gain muscle mass. So you're getting fuel replenishment advantages, you're getting protein synthetic and inhibiting protein breakdown advantages, you're getting that from the macronutrients themselves, and you're getting it from the insulin that you create. Another thing that's pretty important as well is that in doing this, you blunt cortisol levels. So normally cortisol goes up during exercise simply as a function of the stress of exercise. The harder you train, the higher the cortisol levels go. And that's a function, that's basically to free up fuel potentially. And one of the things cortisol does is increases gluconeogenesis from amino acids. So in a worst case scenario, you need to provide glucose for your brain. You can do that by scavenging amino acids from skeletal muscle, which is not what we want to do. Right. One of the cool things, studies now, it's from about 2000, one of the cool things is that there was a particular study where they gave, this was just carbohydrate as a matter of fact, which is enough to blunt the cortisol release. And they looked at the fiber growth in the type 1 and type 2 skeletal muscle fibers over the course of 12 weeks of training or so. And there are correlations of like 0.7 and 0.8 between cortisol levels and fiber growth. Basically inverse correlation. So the lower the cortisol, the more fiber growth. So you want to blunt that response. You won't completely ablate it, you won't completely remove it, but you want to blunt that to some degree. And that's one thing that an intra-workout or a peri-workout recovery supplement will do. So the reason I have people take that in, I call it peri, starting first beforehand, is you get some of it into your system, and then you get it right from the get-go. You've got elevated glucose, amino acids, and insulin levels. So it's there instantly to promote recovery when you've finished training a muscle group or at the end of your workout. Otherwise, if you train, let's say it's really hot, I know it's not hot there right now, but let's say it's really hot, or you train in a gym without AC, and you take in your workout, you take out your drink afterwards, most of the blood is elsewhere. It's in your skin, it's in the skeletal muscle, it's not in your GI tract. And your sympathetic nervous system has redirected that blood away from your GI tract. It's slowing down your digestion. So there's some digestive lag. You take in some amino acids or carbs, it doesn't go instantly into your blood. there's some processing, even with things that are pre-digested, like the carbs and protein sources I mentioned. And after your workout's even worse, because your body's first and foremost concern is making sure you survive whatever the exercise stress is. So thermoregulation, making sure you've got plenty of blood, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So post-workout means a delay. It could be a half an hour, 45 minutes before you get optimal levels of, or elevated levels of insulin, carbs, and amino acids in the blood if you use post-workout. Whereas if you start pre-workout and you finish your drink throughout, that's another side note. There's some risk, I've only seen this happen a couple times, of getting reactive hypoglycemia. So someone tries to chug their drink right at the beginning of a workout, and they train for 2 hours. They'll get an insulin release, and all the skeletal muscle contraction will drive that glucose into those cells, and you can become hypoglycemic. So it's best to sort of titrate your drink throughout your workout, so you're finishing somewhere near the end, and you've got enough there to keep yourself from going hypoglycemic. That brings up another kind of a big topic, is with inter-workouts, I call them the bells and whistles. So sometimes people, and this is just a bodybuilder's mindset, like you want to do everything you possibly can.
Right.
And when you're training, you're more focused than anything on doing that. So you want to throw in all the other supplements that might, could, would help you grow in that intra-workout. But sometimes you don't need that. You don't want that. Because they can cause GI distress. If you got a whole bunch of things in there, you might upset your stomach, and then your training goes to shit, which is not what you want.
Right.
Sometimes people use a greens formula and want to throw that in there. I've done that before in the past, but not in large amounts. Sometimes people use antioxidants. I bring up the greens formulas and the antioxidants because there's some evidence suggesting that if you blunt the free radicals that are produced during exercise, and John talked about this in the seminar, that you'll blunt the adaptation that comes from the training. So you don't want to take in, for instance, like a gram of vitamin C or 2 grams of vitamin C, which would blunt cortisol release, because that will also blunt and reduce the free radical stress, and that can limit the stimulus that you're trying to evoke with the training. So the rule of thumb you can use is like, do I need what is this doing for me in terms of my workout, training intensity, and or recovery, that I need to take it in right now during my pre-workout or intra-workout? Or can I just take this in the morning or at night or some other time during the day? And if timing doesn't matter, then don't worry about it. But things like creatine would be important. Insulin helps with creatine loading. L-carnitine, people can load with L-carnitine orally. We talked about that in the seminar too. So those 2 things could be in there. So you want to look down your list and see what you're taking and think about whether you really need to take it in the intra-workout, whether it does you any good, or maybe just causes a GI bloat that doesn't help you out.
Yeah, that's interesting to think about. So yeah, I think that was well covered, the topic. Thank you, I appreciate that. And I think another topic that we want to cover, Dr. Stevenson, is we've had some interest for DHEA supplementation, specifically for women, but I think it would be great to cover men and women with that topic. But if you could maybe focus a little more on the female aspect of supplementation with DHEA, if you think it's a good idea, if you think maybe there's a different type of supplement that can be used for hormone levels, what are your thoughts in general on the topic?
So that's an interesting one, because now that pro-hormones are illegal or disallowed, and I think pretty much the government's staying on top of designer steroids, which are steroids. DHEA, you can get that at the grocery store pretty much everywhere, and that's okay. I've got nothing against that. It's just interesting because it technically is a steroid. It's part of the biosynthetic pathway for testosterone. So it's a testosterone. It's a couple steps away, but it's a testosterone precursor. I have known and talked to women who have used it, and because women are much more sensitive to androgens than men, normally their testosterone levels are maybe 1/20th that of men, something like that. They can have a pretty pronounced anabolic effect from DHEA. So, I mean, it basically is an orally available steroid, so to speak. And I don't say that in a judgmental way, but just in an informative way. It can have pretty powerful effects for some women. This is also something, there's some research, and you want to check with your doctor on this. Check with an endocrinologist, or OBGYN, whoever your primary care physician is, if you're a woman who's maybe perimenopausal or postmenopausal. This can be used as a form of hormone replacement to help with libido and things of that nature. So it's pretty powerful in women, mainly because women are more sensitive to androgens than men. In men, too, some physicians, this is kind of a controversial topic, but some physicians, they'll measure blood DHEA levels, and supplement with that in order to sort of balance out the hormonal milieu. In women, just as a sort of a side note, in women, sort of the master steroid hormone is pregnenolone. You guys may sell that one there too. And that sort of feeds into the biosynthetic pathways for all the steroid hormones. So that's one that I've actually talked with women before who've used that pretty successfully as well if they felt like their hormones were low, who are perimenopausal. But again, this is a kind of a question. In my opinion, really, it's a question for a physician to check into. You can get it really easily, and the nice thing is you don't have to get the prescription, but you want to make sure you know what you're what you're actually doing when using it, because it can be really, really powerful. So it's the type of thing that just knowledge is power, and I would definitely check with your doc first. But once you get it, or once you get the go-ahead, then it's really easy to get. And obviously, you've got a place right there at the store to pick it up.
I guess, I don't know. I don't have very much knowledge on the DHEA topic, to be honest. But I think I hear oral and I hear androgen, and I just kind of associate with side effects. Are there similar side effects to a DHEA supplement versus what you typically think of when you think of an oral steroid, androgen type based steroid?
You're not going to get the liver toxicity and those sorts of things from DHEA, and I think that's probably why it's not been taken off the shelves. But women can get some of the androgenic effects from it, meaning the sex drive is a big one. They'll get increased strength. One woman I know, this is all anecdotal, got a little bit of hair growth from it. I mean, she could tell. And this is a woman who had experience actually with anabolic steroids herself. So she knew how those felt, and she considered this sort of a mild form of that. I can't remember how much she was using. This was a long time ago when I interacted with this woman. But so yeah, those things are there. And that's really kind of what you want. Hormone replacement, androgen replacement in women is can be very, very important for quality of life and libido. So they do that, obviously in very low amounts, and DHEA is one way to do that, as I mentioned, in postmenopausal women, to make that happen. I'm getting licked on by one of my dogs here. Hi, Betsy. Yeah, you will get some of those effects. The interesting thing is some would call those side effects, some would call those the effects. That's what you're looking for. But yeah, the increased strength and libido are things that a lot of women will experience, especially if their hormones are starting to wane later in life.
Interesting.
And one thing I wanted to mention too, I grew up in Quincy, Illinois, so not too far from there, Midwestern.
Right.
And I'm going to be back in St. Charles for the House of Pain gym opening on April 6th, and then the 7th is the main day. My buddy Joe Corbett's doing that, and he's gonna have Sergio Oliva Jr., Dave Henry, whose T-shirt I see just behind you there in the video I'm looking at. I've coached Dave, and I actually met in Arizona in the gym and started training together. We trained together for like 8 or 10 years, and along the way, we train and go eat and start talking shop, and eventually I just sort of got into a coach's role with Dave, and I've coached Dave now. Dave's been competing. We were looking at this. He's been competing for 13 years.
Oh, wow.
At the pro level, yeah. Other than Dexter, no one else has been around as long as Dave has. So 2008, Mr. 202, Mr. Olympia, if you look at who Dave is. So, and I've had, I don't know, hundreds of clients, of course, over the years. Most of my clients are brain candy aficionados. They like the information, like to do a lot of Q&A with me. And I just sort of, I keep a lot of it under wraps. A lot of them just like to be private. Actually, a lot of it's interesting because I don't blast like, here's my clients before and afters. I just let them, it's all about them. It's not about me, really. That's the whole point, is for them to do what they want to. So I have a lot of people come who want to like go under the radar and compete. So those are the folks I coach a lot. And that's how I compete too. I think a couple years ago I did the Team Universe, and I don't post pictures. I'm kind of old school. Like, I just want to like dig in and do my thing. You know, it just is the last thing on my mind, which isn't the best for my social media presence. And finally, a buddy of mine just posted pictures. Like, he needs to post some pictures, so I'm going to do it for him. So that's probably why I'm not as well known as I would be, but that's okay. As long as I'm helping people, that's the main thing. So at that House of Pain opening, we'll have Dave Sergio Jr., Mitch Stats is one of the athletes for House of Pain apparel, and Jessica Reyes Padilla also. She won the New York Pro in figure. Hopefully Dan Solomon's going to be there, who does Pro Bodybuilding Weekly, and they're going to have an all-day affair. This is a gym that Joe has outfitted personally. Joe's an IFBB pro. Joe Corbett's an IFBB pro in classic physique, and he's handpicked all the machines himself. So if you're in that area and you want a day fast, you want a gym where you can get after it, that's the place to go. And I'm going to do a talk. We're going to have Q&As with the pros there. It's going to be a fun weekend. So you guys are all invited if you can make I think you said it's about a 6-hour drive.
6 if you're driving pretty quick.
Yeah, okay. 8 if you're in the speed limit, under the speed limit. 6 if you drive like Paul does.
Right, exactly. We're not going to put that part in the video. But no, I'm just joking. Okay, great. So yeah, that's an appearance where you can see Dr. Stevenson, and you guys can follow Dr. Stevenson at, your Instagram handle is, I believe, Fortitude Training.
Yeah, underscore between Fortitude and Training. Okay,
so Fortitude underscore Training. And then also, you have a Facebook that you put out there, maybe an athlete page, or?
Yeah, I've got Integrated Bodybuilding is the name of my business, so I've got a page there. It's not well followed. People just like to follow the names, so most people just follow Scott Stevenson. I've got you can go to Integrated Bodybuilding or FortitudeTraining.net and find a discussion board that I have too. When people buy my book's $20. Which I've been chastised for making way too cheap. It's like 170 pages, and I have like 700 references in there. It took a couple of years to do. But people who buy the book, they can come on the discussion board, and I answer questions all day. I mean, not all day, but every day, and I have for years. So I invite people to come on there. I've got a troll gate set up. So it's $3 a month, so a dime a day, if someone wants to join the board, or they can just buy the book and then they're a member for their life. But that keeps the trolls away. So it's a nice, clean, sort of upscale board where I'll do a lot of Q&A and help people out. So people are welcome to come check that out too.
I would highly recommend that to everybody watching this video, because the information that you're about to hear is phenomenal information. It's top notch. It's information that you are not going to get on a regular basis from really anybody else. So I would highly recommend everybody buy the book, everybody get on the discussion board,